Hey, everybody out there. Hi, Ed Diaz here with my partner in crime, Mr. Scott Berry. Welcome to, what episode is this? This is episode 20, episode 27.
27, yeah, which is hours and hours upon hours of stuff, because they seem to run about an hour and a half, 2 hours long, which is amazing, because if we didn't see that time, I don't think we would stop. These would probably be 4 or 5 hours. Ed and I just love talking about all this stuff with you guys.
Yep. All right. Let's give a shout out to a couple of people. In this particular episode of Synth Talk, we're going to have a special guest on who I'll announce and bring on in just a second. But also, we are streaming live to you on YouTube, Facebook, on 2 different sites. On Facebook, let me give a shout out to some people because I just love all the support. We have Bella over here on YouTube. It says Synth Talk. That's awesome. We love that. DJ J, whoop. Hi, guys and girls. Jeff, hello. Exciting synth times. Actually, it is, and we love all this. Nick also is saying, hey, Nick. And let's see. Look, he's DJ just on it. And then DJ J. And let's see. XB50 player. What's up, dude? Evan Turner. What is that? I think that's like Space Invaders. I think so. That's cool. And
try to avoid that. It still happens.
Oh, let's see. DJ J, already a question. Was this intro music made with the Fantom? And the answer, Scott, is
yeah, absolutely. It's actually a preset that's in there. It is A069 called No Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
We just figured, I just started playing around with some of this stuff, and it's like, that's a good one. That's perfect.
Yeah, we'll start playing. So that Synthly intro wasn't by me, which is kind of in there. We're talking about music, what we're going to do. Tortog says, hey, good to see you guys. Good to see that you're chatting and you are there. This is kind of cool. It's like those zombie monster movies, Scott, where you're like on a chat and you're the other survivors are chatting. You're like, okay, as long as you see the chat, they're still alive. So that's awesome. So I went there. I went there. Yeah, it's cool. I've been watching too much Netflix and synth movies. Yeah. Roy says, hello, synth heads. Yo, nerds. Christopher Fry over in South Africa. Hey, guys, great way to spend a Friday night. And I've been watching too many shark movies also, so I'm glad to see Christopher is in there. Because
alive and well and not alive in a shark.
Yeah, but in South Africa, that's where the great whites go, so that's cool. Evan Turner, good day from Evan. That's awesome. Doug Carmichael, hey, look, from Facebook, Pete Martinez gives us the wave. What's up? My homeboy, Andre, this is from Facebook. He's saying, Ed, you're correct. No, because that's cool.
What about me?
He doesn't care about you. He actually met you, and he doesn't care. So anyway, hi from the UK to John. Man, this is great. I love it. Everybody's having fun. Let's see. Oh, Doug said, did you bounce the audio straight from the Fantom? Actually, what did you do, Scott? Did you bring that Fantom there?
From the Fantom. So basically, all I did is just come down here and hit play. And it played. Turned the volume up.
Easy.
We keep it real.
Enzo, I think Enzo's in Florida, right, Scott?
Yeah.
What's up, Enzo?
Enzo.
Jeff said, yes, we're still alive. Oh, wait. Gene from California said, Pants-demic. Okay. On a show of hand, who's wearing pants? Not me. So, anyway.
The whole thing is it seems like one of the biggest decisions we all have to make every day is pants or no pants, because it doesn't really matter.
And no pants win again. Okay. Hello from Juneau, Alaska. I love Alaska. Be careful on the vampires. I know certain days of the year, the vampires, 30 Days of Night. I saw the movie. It wasn't a movie. It was a documentary, just FYI. So we're just kind of having fun. What's up, Daryl? Another keyboard player out here in Texas. Shout out to all my keyboard players, our keyboard players from out the world. I hope you guys and gals are staying busy. Let's see. What does DJ J says? Don't play a game called Man Eater. You're a shark. Oh, I don't. I'd like to play that Man Eater. Whoa, but I don't think we can play that. We'll get pulled. So here's John. All right, let me stop with the nonsense, because I can go on with nonsense for a long time, as you guys know. Scott, who do we have here on episode, what is this, 27?
27, yeah. So we have the all-powerful, amazing Stephen Fortner, who, if you go back to where I am, the first time I ever saw or knew of him was Keyboard Magazine. As an editor or writing articles at that time. I don't remember which one, but I was very aware of who he was. And then later time, which we'll talk to him about, they started doing like Keyboard Mag TV and things. And I always felt of Stephen as a big deal, and he is a big deal. But it didn't hit me until I think I was at the office one day when you were filming with him, that I was like, oh my gosh, that's him. That's Stephen. This is awesome. So
well, this is going to make it awkward to bring Stephen on because you're saying, man, he's a really big deal, and Stephen's going to be like,
he is. We just won't tell him that. But yeah,
I'm watching Stephen in the green room. He's just like shaking his head, like, "Oh man, I got better things to do." Okay, without further ado, let's bring on our friend, the mighty and powerful Stephen Fortner. Let's add him. Woo! There's Stephen. Let me make this. Yay!
No, seriously. Thanks again for coming on. I mean, this is amazing for us, and just not only because you're a friend, but because of who you are and that you're wanting to hang out. I mean, what could be better than talking about keyboards?
This is a real privilege. Thank you guys for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We've known you. I've known of you, Stephen, for I want to say almost 20 years within my tenure at Roland, and then also pre-Roland with the Keyboard Magazine, which to many of us out there was like, I guess kind of a synth Bible for every month you get your Keyboard Magazine. And so it has a special place in my heart because it taught me a lot about synthesizers. It was like I had to have it all the time. So I read a lot from that magazine in there. So let's start off.
I think I started reading keyboard when I was about maybe 9-10 years old.
Oh, isn't that
Stephen, did you even, I mean, I think we're kind of going through a little bit of that right now with things coming in the mail, whether it's Amazon or music stores or whatever. But back then, it would show up in the mailbox. You'd be like, oh, this is awesome. And then you started getting those square records. And that was even
sound pages.
That excitement. Do you remember that excitement that went with it?
Oh, hey, Mike Martin just chatted in.
Yeah, I just saying hi to Mike Martin. Yo, what's up, Mike Martin?
Mr. Casio and very talented videographer and photographer.
He's not that good. No, I'm just playing.
Award-winning. Literally award-winning photographer.
Oh no, he's an incredible. You know what? Maybe we'll have Mike on here because he's a nut. He's a great guy and a killer keyboard player and just a part of our keyboard brotherhood and sisterhood throughout the world, but also just an amazing photographer. So he's one of the guys that I really watch to try and get better all the time. And then he steps up his game. All right, so I digress. It's about Stephen, Mike. Don't take away from Steve. So yeah, Stephen. So you kind of grew up with Keyboard Magazine as well.
I did, yeah.
So what's an article before your tenure with them? What was something that you would look forward to when you would watch when you would read Keyboard Magazine?
That I would look forward to?
Yeah, or is there a certain article or certain artist that just really spoke to you and got you on your path?
Well, very early on, Bob Moog's column on synthesizers, and we had a Hammond organ, not a B3, not anything that cool, but we had like a Hammond organ. It had drawbars and tone wheels, but it also had rhythms and stop tabs. Like it might have been an Aurora, something like Barry Morgan's organ, and this guy Bill Irwin did a column called Organ Workshop, which which I followed because that was my first point of connection with electronic keyboards was that Hammond organ.
Absolutely, for many of us,
those two columns were huge for me. I think the most memorable article in keyboard ever for me, way before I had anything to do with it, was from, I think, and I feel embarrassed having been the editor-in-chief, but I think this was from 1983. There was might have been a bit later, but there was a cover with Oscar Peterson, the pianist, and Oscar Peterson had discovered synthesizers, and the cover was him with a Synclavir.
Of all keyboards, yeah.
Or a Synclavir, I should say, if I want to be snotty. And the cover line was Oscar Peterson Synthesist. And, I was 14, 15 at the time. And I remember in this article, Oscar had this one line where he said, I'm fortunate to be who I am and to do what I do and to have these companies want to show me their equipment.
Yeah.
I hate to be one of these kids trying to keep up with this parade of gear. Where does a kid get $8,000 a pop for a synthesizer? Where does a kid even get $2,500?
Yeah.
And I remember reading that line and seeing his picture with Synclavir and his analog synths and so forth, and thinking, yeah, where does a kid get that kind of money? I'm that kid.
Yeah.
I'm that kid.
Well,
and,
if you beg. You beg.
And that just really stuck with me. And even then, I think it occurred to me that, like, man, to check out all the new synths, it'd be really cool to work for this magazine.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so actually working there or being involved with it somehow was a dream I had since I was pre-teenager, really.
Wow. That's awesome. And yeah, you bring up a good point for all of my young guys that are watching, they're new to synthesizer and then look up the Synclavir. That's definitely a part of keyboard history, no matter who you rep or whatever. If all of you that are new, look up that. That's definitely one of the giants. Also definitely look up Mr. Oscar Peterson. He was, what would we say about Oscar Peterson? He's like one of the jazz giants of just a jazz giant. But of piano, he's like,
amazing.
I don't even say he's one of the dudes. He's like one of the top, guys up there that you just gotta check out. Just incredible.
And
he's
then
like a Serbian chick look up to, like that.
Yeah. He is the father of a Chick Corea and Herbie Hancock and all these other guys that's who their mentor was, definitely. So
I just think it's funny that the cover, the article that you were just talking about with, where do you get this kind of money? I mean, the Synclavirs back then were what, $60,000 to over $100,000?
The Synclavirs were, you could easily spend $250,000
Jeez.
on one of those things in the mid 80s to late 80s.
And now you can buy it as an app on your iPhone.
And for people who might not know what this is, the Synclavir was a additive. It was an all digital workstation, additive FM sampling, hard disk recording, sequencing. It was just everything. This thing, the Fantom right here, or even an app on my iPad, probably has more power than the Synclavir did in the 80s. But it was the Rolls Royce of keyboard workstations.
Cutting edge, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's definitely. Oh, I think I found it. This is just something fun to just kind of share for you guys out there. Look at that. Here, see if I can make it a little bit bigger. Look at that, Oscar Peter synthesis. Look at that. That's
what year was it? Can you see what year?
I don't know if I can zoom in. Oh wait. I can't see the year. So, but look, what do we got? What do we have there? There's the Synclavir right there.
Yep, that's it.
Right there, and then. What's this kind of was this all just various racks or
no? That was part of it. That was the tower that went with the Synclavir, however you want to say it. Tomato.
Well, if we look at the time, we look at what else is on here for all my other keyboard nerds. We see a Kawai, but we see DX7. So Stephen, what is that? That's probably like 86,
87, 86.
A little later, yeah, because the DX7 was introduced.
86?
No, the DX7 was earlier. 83, I think.
No, I remember we got ours from Japan directly because the dollar was so strong. And I want to say I got it right before the D50. And the D50 came out in 86 or 87.
Yeah.
It actually was introduced. The first DX7 was introduced in 1983.
Oh, wow. Why did I even bother to try and go against somebody that would be...
Yeah, it's crazy. Hey, Rook, let's take a quickie break real quick. I see some shout outs to Stephen. It says, hey, DJJ, he says, love the magazines.
DJ, thank you.
Yep. Another guy, James.
Well, since I was involved, I miss it too, James.
Oh.
Well, since I was involved there, I left in September 2015 because I sort of saw the writing on the wall about where it was going.
Yeah.
We had a company that was in Hawk, so they're a private equity firm that owned them. And, we just really couldn't double down and invest more resources in making a great magazine. It was just about, squeezing every drop of ad revenue we could out of the situation. And, I was there first as number 2 and then as number 1. Ernie Rideout brought me in when he was editor-in-chief. I was there from 2006 through 2015.
Yeah.
Editor-in-chief from 2009 through September 2015. And, it's inevitable, I suppose. But it's a bit of a shame what happened to print.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be one of those good old days, get off my lawn kind of guys, but just getting that magazine every month, wondering what was going to be in it, and leafing through the pages and being able to take it with you, which I suppose you can do with an iPad or something. But yeah, I really miss it too. And because I miss it so much, what we're trying to do now on Music Player Network is sort of be the spiritual home for those readers on the internet.
Yeah. So here's another thing. We're definitely going to talk more about musicplayernetwork.com. We're going to talk about that a little bit more, but a couple more shout outs to you. This is one that I hold dear to my heart. Pete says, I still have my Square records somewhere.
Yeah.
For all of you guys who don't know, the Keyboard Magazine used to have records, but square kind of plastic records that you could just throw on.
Records.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, flexible records that you can just throw on your record player. And Stephen, I know I think Keyboard Magazine used to do where just regular Joes would kind of throw in their sequences or their songs all produced with whatever the synth equipment back the day. And there's a couple of those that I wish I had those recordings to this day, because they're amazing, especially when we think back to the tech. The computer was probably at that time very remedial and almost non-existent.
It was the beginning of the Mac, the first Mac, whatever it was. Like that, and IBM was probably real big. So it wasn't.
We had sound pages in the late 70s, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Before anybody had a personal computer.
Yeah. And
these little flexible discs, they came between the pages of the magazine, and you'd rip them out. And like say Chick Corea or Tom Coster had one in there that I still have actually. Or
some of them are like little lessons and things, right?
They were lessons and things that related to something that was in the magazine, because of course you could not go online and just click on all the sound examples in the videos.
No SoundCloud.
Mm-hmm.
No SoundCloud back then. So I see a quick shout out here from Roger Hooper.
Roger's on Facebook. Yeah. Hey, Roger. Good to see you, man.
And he also did it from YouTube, so that's totally cool. And he just said he remembers the Peterson issue with the Synclavir. That's totally cool. Let me see here.
Well, it was like back then. Sorry, two things that I look forward to that you had to order and wait 6 to 8 weeks to get.
6 to 8 weeks.
It was my Keyboard Magazine T-shirt and my Roland T-shirt. Those were the two things that were like the coolest things to wear at gigs and stuff back in the early 80s.
Yeah, we just kind of came back about, we were talking about that, just something unrelated, how back when we were kids, you would send off for a T-shirt or whatever, and it was normal 6 to 8 weeks. Whereas now I better get 2-day shipping or else there's going to be, heck to pay. So, 6 to 8 weeks was.
And the other thing is, Stephen, you guys took it to the next level in the 2000s when you did the Keyboard TV, right? Keyboard.tv or something.
Well, Keyboard.tv was just a site within the website where we put our videos.
Hmm.
And as opposed to
great.
The mentality of management at that time was, as opposed to putting everything on YouTube, we wanted to have it kind of garden walled within our own brand.
Gotcha.
So people would have to come to our site and we would get the clicks. And I don't think we really understood that the way you get views on social media was to be social. So,
yeah.
So Keyboard TV was this custom video server and video portal for all the videos excuse me, I would run around with a little camera shooting videos like a madman at the NAMM show, for example. Yeah. Or we'd have synth videos we would take in the office. And a lot of those have turned up on YouTube since. And I was one of the editors there, along with Ernie and Mike Melinda from Guitar Player, and the editors of the other magazines, that was really proactive about getting video online.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as there was, the internet had enough bandwidth for people to stream video. So, that's what keyboardmag.tv was all about. Whereas if we were like everybody else, we would have just gone and made a YouTube page, which they eventually did.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. It was really cool.
One of the really memorable videos from that series was when we had the keyboard player Chester Thompson from Tower of Power.
That's my ultimate favorite that was on there, and I have it saved, and I watch it every so often just to remind me, like, oh man, he's my daddy. I just love Chester Thompson. He's mine.
And he came into our studio, which was at that time in San Mateo, California, and brought in his. We had a whole rig we'd set up for him, but he wanted to bring his B3.
Of course,
he brought in his B3, which we helped him carry up in the studio and set up. And we set up some cameras, and he demonstrated techniques from like Squib Cakes by Tower of Power, and that was amazing.
Yeah.
And I remember that day. No, it was actually a different day. It was a day that Booker T. Jones came in and did a similar thing.
Wow. Yeah.
And I think I was working under Ernie at that time, and Ernie Rideout turned to me after Booker left the building. And I'd done a bunch of stuff, sat next to him at the B3 playing Green Onions and stuff. And Ernie looked at me and was like, "So Fortner, how's your job satisfaction level today?" And I was like, "Pretty good."
Pretty good. Just a little.
It's all right. It's all right.
Yeah, I remember watching one that you went into the studio at Dream Theater with Jordan. I think it was a Systematic Chaos album. And it was
we go.
Like 4 or 5 parts. That you went through. I constantly look for that, and I can't find it. That was one of those ones.
Yeah, well, excuse me. So a lot has happened since then. The year that I joined keyboard full time was 2006, and I'd been freelance writing for them since 1998. Mm-hmm. And how I wound up doing that's a whole other story,
which I want to get to.
Yeah,
we'll get there.
But so the year that I joined, they were with CMP, was the parent company. That got sold to a private equity firm, which created this company called New Bay Media. Mm-hmm. And New Bay, in the last couple of years, was bought out by Future. And they have Future Music and Computer Music and Music Tech and Music Radar, and the British company, Future PLC.
Yeah.
And they very recently subsumed all of the keyboardmag.com and all of the eMusician, electronicmusician.com content into Music Radar.
Yeah.
So if you type in emusician.com or you type in keyboardmag.com in your browser, you now go to Music Radar. And this broke a lot of links, and a lot of that archival content, Scott, that you mentioned, is not accessible on the web anymore.
Right. Oh, it's a shame.
The Jordan thing you were talking about is, that a lot of that stuff being online was part of a lot of people's resumes. So it's kind of a bummer that it's not online anymore. That's the new ownership's decision, and part of, I wish them well. I've got nothing against them, but I'm glad I don't work there. So,
understood, completely understood. Yeah. It's a shame, with all that, but hey, at least I got to see it when it happened. It was amazing, and
Well, it's definitely a part of our personal synth history, and definitely for those guys coming up, that unfortunately didn't get to witness it and have it. It was such a good time because for me it was always Keyboard Magazine and the Roland User Group magazine. It actually was.
Yeah.
That was I learned a lot from that. So that was pretty cool. But let's show some more comments. I love seeing the comments for the interaction. Rick says DX7 was big then. I could only afford the DX27, 3 levels downgrade.
Mm.
You can afford what you can afford, right, Stephen? It's like, how do we do that?
Yeah. I actually got my first synth was a Korg Poly 800.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually, I think a year after that, I think it might have been the summer of '85, got my first DX7, which it's not in the shop, it is in this room over on the other side.
Oh, nice.
With those two synths, the analog and the digital, I felt like teenage Rick Wakeman.
Oh yeah, you got it.
Did you have them all spread out through the room? So you're like,
well, there's just two. There's an ultimate stand above each other, but I was able to afford my first DX7 because I did odd jobs and summer jobs and saved, worked part-time while I was in high school, and my grandparents, God bless them, did a matching grant.
Oh,
nice.
Kind of like an NPR fund drive, right? So, they were like, okay, as much as you can save up, we'll match that amount. And so I think I got this incredible deal on a DX7 from a retailer in Essex Junction, Vermont, called Contoys Music. And Dave Contoys has been a huge evangelist for Yamaha instruments for many, many years. And he gave me some insane deal on a floor demo unit for like $1,600.
Wow.
That's awesome.
So I saved $800 and my grandparents put up $800.
How old were you then?
15, 16.
Yeah.
Dude, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
Well, it's like that was probably around the time, 84, 85, that I learned the difference when I talked to my old man when I said I want or need something. So if I said, Pop, I really want this, I learned that I needed to say, Pop, I really need this. And that's how it would work.
Yeah.
That's how I went with Jupiter 6. That's how I went with the DX7 and almost a D50. But since back then, they were coming out every 6 months to a year that was just completely blowing away the one before it, and boom, and it was so hard to keep up.
It was the Wild West, right, Stephen? Like Scott's saying, every NAMM, which was new to me. I'm like, what is this show called NAMM that happens every January? And I think at those times it was in New York or Chicago. I don't think it was in LA, or I don't think it was quite in Anaheim yet. I think in those days, but
it was. My first NAMM show was 1983, and it was at the Anaheim Convention Center.
Yeah, and so I know for myself, and probably you guys, as we're all young kids, it's like you just got this synth, and this is awesome, and then next year, double the polyphony or more patches, and you're just like, what does this even mean? What is this type? With the DX7, it's like, what is this new type of synthesis? I don't even fully understand the old type because the manuals back then were not very good.
No, and the whole algorithms and FM, and I mean that was all new coming from analog sliders, everything sitting there. So that was a brand new thing.
Yeah,
so a lot of us,
So Stephen, let's go back before Keyboard Magazine. Obviously, keyboards and synthesizers have been in your life. It sounds like many of us from the get-go, just kind of getting into it and just loving it. And shout out to your grandparents. So awesome. That's really cool. If a kid is willing to work and the family can match it, that is awesome. That is so awesome. But what other things were you into at that time, Stephen? What did you go to college for, or what was your major field of study? Was it music?
Interestingly, it wasn't. I took several music courses, and I had music lessons from the time I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I came from a musical family. My mother was a classical. My mom was a classical pianist who, when she was in practice, could just scare you with how good she was.
Wow.
When she was a kid, at like 11 and 12 years old, she was playing on the lawn of the Vermont State Capitol for like tea parties for the wives of the senators and representatives. And my grandfather was my maternal grandfather was an Ellis Island immigrant from Italy, who landed in New York, and where he could afford to live was Harlem. He had classical trumpet training.
Oh, nice.
In the old country, in Italy. But in Harlem, meeting a lot of African-American musicians, he picked up jazz and swing and interacted with them a bunch. And he was, what I like to say is that he was a trumpeter who played swing dance music the first time it was popular. So
you got to do the gig, right? You got to make the gig, got to make the rent.
He had sideman. He had his own orchestra in upstate New York eventually, which is, he met my grandmother at a gig, and his name was Bob Moog, Minotti. And at the height of his career, he sided with the likes of Glenn Miller and Tommy Dorsey.
Whoa, that's cool.
So there was that musical background. And my grandmother was not a formally trained musician, but she could play a mean Scott Joplin stride piano.
Oh, nice. Respect to all the stride pianists out there. That's awesome.
And so there was all of that around me, and I was sitting next to my mother on the piano bench as young as 5 years old. College, however, I went to my hometown school, University of Vermont, in Burlington, Vermont, and by then it had the kind of music program. I don't know what it's like now. It had the kind of music program that was more geared towards creating music teachers than musicians.
Absolutely, that's still common. It's still common.
It wasn't a Berkeley or University of Miami or a real performance-oriented, technology-oriented place like that. So I ended up, for some reason, as an undergrad, undecided my first couple semesters of undergrad, gravitating towards philosophy. To answer your question. And ended up majoring in philosophy, minors in French and history, and then went to a PhD program at the University of California, Santa Barbara in philosophy.
So are you a doctor, Stephen?
Well, Craig Anderson likes to call me Dr. Fortner.
That is cool. That is
fun.
cool.
We will change your name.
So
it's not something I go around. I don't go around, going PhD. No, I don't go around doing that. It doesn't seem.
No,
Yeah,
that's still
because when you meet other ones, you can go doctor, and they can go doctor, and you can play that game, doctor.
No, but it's cool. It's just neat that it's like, oh, cool, man. You got, because I know we have some colleagues at Roland that is a doctor, and he doesn't like to go by that either. But he's a nut. He's great. But I just think you worked real hard for it, and you got it. So. It's just nice for those of you that don't know that Stephen's not only just a great in the media and player and speaking about tech, but then also he has his doctorate in philosophy. How neat is that? It's just like neato. I just think it's neat.
It's the layers of Stephen.
It's the layers of Stephen.
You don't know what's going to do. Yeah.
So let's real quick. I'm going to go through some of these questions real fast because I love the questions. I love the comments, and I want you guys to see some of these on here. I can't get all. Okay, for those of you out there, we can't get to all of them, but I just wanted to see here because Stephen might know some of these cats. Okay, so I think they're talking about this is back when you're talking about where all that content went.
Yeah.
And someone says to electronic musician, Max Zape, another great keyboard player out of San Diego.
Answer the question is move to electronic musician, right? When keyboards ceased printing, the last print issue was April 2017.
Mm-hmm.
They sort of had a keyboard section in electronic musician after that. That was in terms of the print magazine.
Right.
The autonomous websites for both magazines continued on for a while until earlier this year, this spring. A lot of the standalone keyboard mag content and e-musician content just went away and got folded into Music Radar.
Yeah.
A lot of those original articles you can't find, and there's been no shortage of displeasure.
Oh no, absolutely, because that's like a history encyclopedia of synthesis going on there. From all the different manufacturers, and I know you're in there, and I know some of our mutual friends like David Bryce is written in there, and of course Mark Vale. There's a lot of great people that have worked on there. So it's a shame. Let's see here. Let me see here. I'll pick out some other ones so you guys can see. Let's see. He was like 10. Missed a golden music area. It's all good, DJJ. Another person, I think, talking about all of the floppy ones.
Yeah.
Look, remember my Patrick O'Hearn sound page. Whoever.
That's what they were called, sound pages. That's
for missing persons, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And then Roger, of course, I love this one. Synth Talk matters. Absolutely. Every Synth Talk matters. We need to keep, during this time, I'm not going to go political or anything, but, it's good to focus on the arts. That really helps a lot of people. Shout out to DJ Jazz. Hello to you. Scott Norman says, hey, guys, Scott Norman from Warren, Ohio. Super show. Great. Glad you're enjoying it. That's awesome. Roger Hooper comes in. He says, he at Al Beckwell, he says, I think I discovered Patrick O'Hearn's music through reading keyboard. Love Patrick O'Hearn. So that's cool. Let's see. Jeff Jones, we'll get to you. He says, I have an issue with my FO stable. And I said, we can work that out in a little bit later. Go ahead and I think you can contact Roland Product Support on that one, but we'll see if we can get that going. Send me a private message and we can talk about that one. Oh, of course, we got a big troublemaker out of New York. Oh, Gabriel. Yeah, Fortner. I wonder if he's saying that lovingly, or is it like on Star Trek Super, the Revenge of Khan? It's Fortner. Maybe he's doing like that.
William Shatner jazz hands.
Yeah, jazz.
That's right.
Yeah, let's see. Here's a one. We love all of our other ones, but Douglas Carmichael said, what would be the heir to the DX7 throne today? Montage, and that would probably. I would say probably.
I mean, they're different. I always thought, I remember having the DX7. I remember seeing the DX1 at NAMM and just thinking, oh my gosh, And
I would get
those things.
Montage is fair. MoDX is fair because they have a whole FM section.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, just like we have, FM stuff in the System 8, and then also we just added FM to the TR8, the TR8S. We just added some that, and then even on the Roland side, the D50 was around the same time as DX7. We have the D05, and then of course the Fantom has a lot of D50. So yeah, I guess if you look at some of those old synths, if you look at those particular manufacturers and you look at the current synth, it's going to have the DNA of those classic synths in it. It's not going to be exact a lot of times, but it's going to be totally there.
Well, the history was great, and each company kind of pushed the other company.
Absolutely.
It wasn't like a Corvette and Camaro kind of thing where they're almost or Chevy and Camaro where they're kind of the same thing, or whatever, Pontiac, whoever it was different, but they each kind of did their own thing. Like the DX7 was amazing for what it was, and the keyboard felt really good. And then the D50 hit, and you had chorus and reverb, and that just made the sound go like this,
Yep.
So it's all good. I'm just glad that I lived through it. One, that I survived, but also two, that I lived through it and actually experienced analog to where we are now, because that's an awesome trip.
And here's a cool thing. Since we're talking about some other manufacturers a little bit, I want to, and Steven's kind of gone through all the other manufacturers. All of us keyboard guys hate each other. No, I'm just playing. We're all like bros to each other. So like I have my friends at Yamaha and Arturia and Casio, and we're all like, it's like a little fraternity. We're all
really tight. Believe it or not,
really
we're
tight.
Really tight, and we talk a lot. And
but Steven's personal favorite is Roland. No, I'm just playing. No, actually, no. Yeah, Steven, have you noticed that the camaraderie, or I guess it would be the camaraderie, or what's the better word? Probably the kinship, the brotherhood when you go to the different manufacturers. Have you noticed that as well between
that struck me very, very early on when I first started going to NAMM shows.
Mm-hmm.
As a cover reporter for keyboard, because at the end of the day, right? You could have you from Roland and Mike Martin from Casio and Jerry Kowarski from Korg.
Oh God,
and and Nate Shetter from Yamaha, or Avery Burnett from Yamaha, and those guys, right? And everyone, and Dave Weiser from Kurzweil, and everyone just is sitting at the same table in the Hilton bar or the Marriott bar after the NAMM show and catching up on each other's lives, and everybody really likes everybody.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I don't think that on Wall Street that happens with people from, Goldman Sachs sitting down from people with Berkshire Hathaway or whoever and all being bros. I mean, I think they genuinely want to kill each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But however much manufacturers' products are competing, the people who work for these manufacturers are all friends.
Yes.
Oh, well, I think were we at Synthplex where we had a dinner with some of I think you were there. I think it was Synthplex
Synthplex. It was
Well, we won't mention the other guys because I know some of the companies are kind of weird, but we had, some of our other friends from the other manufacturers and Stephen there. We had a dinner, just a loose like bro hang, like, hey, what are you doing for dinner? And we all just met at the hotel restaurant. And oh my God, I was crying laughing. We were just having so much fun. It was just, and we were talking, picking at each other a little bit, but
you needed to be supervised that night.
I did need to be supervised that night, but it was just a crying good time. It was a crying good time. Yeah, I just shout out to all of my other bros and broettes out there in the synth community. We all, we're all friends, and we definitely need each other now, especially, and support each other. So that's awesome. Let's see. Yeah. So I just wanted to get that out there because it's like,
it's also it's a small industry too.
Yeah. So don't be a bad person.
Yeah, it's like Ed and myself cover the entire country.
If you're an a-hole to somebody, you might be applying to them for a job someday. You don't know.
Yes, true.
And it's a very tight community. Kind of related to that, it just popped into my head that the MI, what we call the MI, musical instrument industry, which is basically anything, it's not 9-foot concert grand pianos, right? Mm-hmm. But it's MI basically means anything you'd buy at Sweetwater or Guitar Center or craft music, right? And in the MI industry, it's a lot smaller industry than everybody thinks it is. Yeah. You walk into a big box music store and you see all this gear on slat wall, right? And you see all these shiny boxes of software and so forth, wrapped up in shrink wrap, and you think, oh my God, these must be huge, huge companies. And even Yamaha, right, which is the biggest musical instrument manufacturer in the world, mm-hmm. and even Roland, which is also a very, very big one, you go to your headquarters, and it's this really small team.
Yeah, but Yamaha makes underwear and motorcycles. So.
Stop it. So no, it is a small thing, but yeah, it's really cool. Well, what I thought was cool, and shout out, I think it's the anniversary of his passing, was Bob Moog. How you could go, arguably, or I don't even think it's arguably the father of synthesis. You used to be able to go to NAMM and actually just introduce yourself and talk to him as a regular person. Just like, hey, how are you doing? Yeah. And how cool is that? That was really cool. And then now with the Moog Foundation, you can actually go have a nice conversation with his daughter, Michelle Moog, who's an incredible, just as awesome person, and just really trying to spread.
She heads up the Bob Moog Foundation.
Yes,
educational and historical preservation nonprofit,
and then working with kids to pass on synthesis to keep that going, for our future keyboard players and synthesizer people.
We should mention that actually today is the anniversary of Bob's passing.
Yes, that's why I brought that up.
August 21st, 2005.
Mm-hmm.
He passed away, and it is. I've had the privilege of meeting him a few times. Before I was full time at keyboard, I was just freelancing, and they did me the courtesy of getting me a badge to the NAMM show.
Yeah,
I'm walking around like Wayne's World, going, "I have a pass. I have a pass."
Yeah.
And I got to just walk up to Bob and talk to him, and he was this warm, regular guy. It's just
yeah.
And so we should we should recognize today. 15 years. It's hard to believe he's been gone.
Yeah,
15 years has passed. Yeah.
Let me give let's give in honor of Bob Moog. I just want to show everybody, and this is not the Bob Moog Foundation, because there's Moog synthesizers, and that's fine. They sell, that's great, But this Bob Moog Foundation, I'm going to show you guys. You can go to moogfoundation.org. Check out this website. There's a lot of projects. There's a lot of things you can do. They have a Bob Moog museum. Here's what I'm talking about. What I love, Stephen and Scott, is as they're teaching kids synthesizers, they're getting them going. There's a Dr. Bob's sound school. And I wasn't planning on showing this, but this is just really cool. We get all of the kids kind of learning, just learning.
So what sound school is they use synthesizers, hands-on with synthesizers, to teach grade school, K through 12 children, concepts of math and physics by like showing them the waveform on an oscilloscope and letting them play the waveform and change the waveform in real time.
Cool.
And it's really, it reaches kids like nothing else.
Yeah. So just a quick remembrance to Mr. Moog, and a shout out to Michelle for all the tireless work she does. And passing this on to the kids out there. So, if you want, please go support the Moog Foundation and just give them at least a check out, see what they're doing. You might find some events and some other ways to support them in the future. And I wasn't planning on showing this. I love all this stuff, but especially today, it's just a quick shout out to a man that a lot of us love and respect.
Respect, yeah.
So that's so you guys know that, because it's pretty cool. And Michelle is the bomb. Love Michelle. She is an awesome lady. So let's go off and show some more stuff in here. Here's Mr. Jack Coleman says, how about the Roland MKS20? He says he met a guy in Boston who was a Roland rep, and he said the inventor of the technology was a hang glider and hang glided right into the side of a mountain in Japan, and the technology died. That's very possible. I think I did hear something about that. There's, I think a lot of people don't understand is there are those technologies that sometimes when someone gets sick or they're just at the forefront, it can really affect the future of that particular instrument or that project that's going on. So that's cool. Let's see here. I'm looking at some more cool stuff. Hold on. Let's see. Nick sent me a personal message asking about the FA. That's cool. Oh, here's one. I don't know who this is. He says, the 80s, I owned a Commodore SX64 computer. And you remember those? And then he says, then I got my DX7 in 1985, then the Juno 60, and I thought it was cutting edge then. Well, it was cutting edge then.
I started the opposite. I started with the 60 and wound up with the DX7 later.
Yeah, so that's cool. And here's another one. I had a DX7 mid to late 80s, got rid of it in the late 90s, and have kicked my own butt ever since. that happens. Roger Hooper says, I used to sell Poly 800s and DX7. Good days, great days. Yeah. I just, Steve, I just love all these different comments. Let me see. I just found one real quick, or I don't want to forget our friend Tortog. It moved on me. Yeah,
that's the only thing that sucks with the chat sometimes. They start to move too quick.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. Oh, wait, here we go. I just love sharing these. Max says, Tom Darth took me to my first NAMM show in 83, 88. Oh, here's Tortog. He remembers it was at the Disneyland Hotel before Anaheim. Good time. Rick says, Moore's Law at work with Synths.
Yes, totally.
So, and then see, Jeff Jones says, back in 84, I was a candidate to get a Fairlight. They were giving them away as demos. Oh my God. All of a sudden, people started buying them like Herbie Hancock and these monster players. Oh yeah, I forgot about Fairlight for a second.
Fairlight Series 3 was the one that I still have a poster of. It's actually at work in the office. I have a poster of the Fairlight Series 3.
Speaking of that, someone just put, look at that. Someone just put that. Yeah, nerds. So I love it.
Until New England Digital with the Synclavir said, "Hold my beer."
Yeah.
They made a much more expensive keyboard.
I remember talking with Michael Boddicker. He had three of those Series 3s. 3 of them.
Yep.
Wow. That tells you what kind of
the music doctor.
he had. Yeah, that's just amazing.
Yep. Yep. Oh. Somebody else. Don't play the doctor game with my mom. She's an empty. Oh God. Here we go. Let's see. Ace, the producer, send me a personal message. I see some questions about how to do this. We'll try and get to that. Well, you know what? Maybe we'll answer this one just real quickly. It says, "Hey, Ed, love the video. Have a question about the Phantom. Can you load custom sounds into the keyboard?" Well, you can definitely make custom sounds, and I can actually share with Stephen or with Scott that custom sound. So technically, yes, you could.
You use your sampling on this, correct?
Yes, there is sampling. Say that again one more time, Steve. I'm sorry.
You can do your own sampling on this, right? There's user sampling supported?
Yes, there is user sampling supported in here. Absolutely. We're going to get into that.
You can even incorporate those samples into the sequencer.
Yes. You can turn a zone into triggering a pad. Yep. And the pad, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the pad's over here.
Yep. Yeah, so that's cool. And it says, someone says, I'm a huge fan of Roland Synths. My first Juno 106 purchase in 1985. You know, speaking of that, we were talking about how synths are so expensive. And I know on the Roland side, we had the Jupiter 8, which is one of the big granddaddies. And that's
wait till we release the Phantom Fortner.
The Phantom Fortners. Don't ever joke, because everybody can be like, "Oh, they let a leak out." No. So the Fortner edition Phantom. So that's cool. But the Jupiter 8 was, you know, one of those big expensive synths, and it still is expensive. But my point is, the Juno 106. I think that was more of the, I don't want to say entry level. I like to say like working man's, where you could get it.
Well, the Juno 60 was probably about 1,800 back then, somewhere in there. And you're talking like 83, 84. The 106 came out and it was like quite a bit less. I think it was either 1,100 or under 1,000. So, but they were similar. I felt that the 60 was a warmer sounding analog. And the Jupiter 8 came out around that same time. I looked back a couple years earlier, 81. But it just had a different sound to it. But the 106, you know, was MIDI. And I think that's one of the reasons why people are still going after it, not just the sound, but also because it was MIDI.
Oh, yeah. And Stephen, so who were the inventors of MIDI? We had Mr. Kakahashi. We have Mr. Bob Moog. And
Dave
then
Smith, actually, it was Dave Smith and Kakahashi who collaborated on MIDI.
Yeah. So
Smith wrote most of the spec.
Yeah, so Mr. Kakahashi was, you know, the founder of Roland, and then you have Bob Moog, and then you have Dave Smith. So that goes back to what we were just saying, how about the kinship of the keyboard community, you know. So there's these three competitors, but I don't even know if they consider themselves that, but they actually worked together and came up with a spec that we still use to this day. And then what was it, Stephen? Was it this last NAMM where MIDI 2.0 just came out, or was it
two previous?
Yeah. So it's still going. Oh, here's somebody who I don't like. I bought a Juno 106 from a pawn shop for $150. Woo!
Yeah.
Those stories are just like, ugh. And then, here's a fun one. Maybe you remember this, Stephen. Since the 80s, I've owned a A80 JD800 killer keyboard and a VK1000s with the Rhodes organs Keith, I guess. Because you remember Roland used to own Rhodes for a minute.
They owned the name for a bit,
yeah. For a minute. I think that was when was that? I want to say late 80s, 90s. I have to look. So that's cool. Okay, let me see here. Let's see. I'm just looking. Shout out to my friend Nick. And I see, let's see. Someone says, what about doing the same via Zoom? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Roger Hooper says, relationships in this biz or any other are so important. Absolutely. So that's cool. Let's see here. That's cool. Well, let me see. I tell you what, I'm trying to go. I'll go through these real quick. That's cool. I see a lot of one. Here we haven't heard this for a minute. My first synth was the Oberheim 2-voice. My girlfriend at the time. Hey, here's the musician story. How'd you get that? Well, my girlfriend loaned me the money. Yeah. Shout out to those girlfriends. Y'all are the coolest. You know, my girlfriend, who's my wife, she bought me an expansion board and a case back in the day because I was broke. Before I could pay her back, she broke up with me, but I still have the keyboard today. Yes. Score. So it's not just guitar players and drummers; it's also keyboard.
No, I've got stories too.
I love you so much. I don't have the girl, but I have the synth.
Overtime. Yeah.
That was probably expensive back then. Jeez, that is awesome. Let me see. I just like all these comments. I hope you guys do too. Someone says I owned a Moog Prodigy, amazing for the time. I'm sorry, it just keeps on moving. Thanksgiving me. Let's see here. Catching up. I grew up with Keyboard Magazine. Still have my collection.
Wow.
Good times. Good times. Love it.
Hey, Roy, how you doing, man?
Okay. Wouldn't use a cheap software controller. Be safe in school environments than 4-digit. I don't know. I suppose it would. Yeah. You know what? Let's talk about this because Stephen, we have this all the time. Okay, wouldn't using a cheap software controller be safer in a school environment than a 4-digit price synth? Absolutely, right, Stephen? Yeah, in a school, I would probably let the kids use software, but on occasion, I would bring in an authentic synthesizer, hands-on. But with children, although we love kids can be a little dirty and do stuff and accidentally break stuff. And so, yeah, I would let them use, if I had a vintage synth, wash their hands and kind of explain it to them. So we have the respect aspect of it. But yeah, as long as the kids are playing, in my opinion, I don't care what they use. Just keep on playing.
Yeah, but there's something about, teaching them on your equipment where they can use the knobs and see on the oscilloscope what's going on and how they're changing it. Not only are they hearing it, they're seeing the waveform change. I mean, kids are really, really impressionable. I remember certain things that I first learned on synthesis that have always stuck with me to this day. So using their gear, they're going to be like, Mommy, I used a Moog. I used this keyboard. I used that instead of a generic controller. So I think that's part of it.
What are your thoughts, Stephen?
If the commenter was referring to Dr. Bob's Sound School, I know that they bring in theremins and Voyagers and things like that, and it's very supervised. So I don't think they've ever lost an instrument or anything.
Oh yeah, it's not just a free for all. Definitely.
But yeah, if you were gonna have a lab, electronic music lab for kids, something like a controller and Roland A series controller, for example.
Yeah, that's cool.
And laptops would be ideal, I think.
Absolutely. Here's one for Stephen. It says, "Thank you at Fortner for all the great years of keyboard. It was the last print magazine I subscribed to." So,
Jason, thank you for the kind words. Me too.
And here's another question for Mr. Fortner. It says, at Diaz, I have a question for Stephen Fortner. Is that a 5-tier keyboard stand behind him? And if so, where could I find one like that? Unless it's a 3-tier. That one directly behind.
Yeah, I can tell you what the keyboard stand behind me is. It's a 4-tier stand. It is a rectangular footprint, not an A-frame. And it's made by a German company called Jaspers. And their website is Jaspers-ALU, which I think is for aluminum. Jaspers-ALU.de.
There you go.
And they make a whole bunch of different keyboard stands in the kind of Tinker Toys tubular aluminum format. So on this one right now, going bottom to top, I have my Nord Grand, Nord Wave 2, Studio Logic Numa organ, and the Prophet Rev 2 just above that, which you can barely see in the shot. They make this. They make A-frames. They make retail displays. They make stuff with up to 6 tiers.
Cool.
Which go all the way to the front. I have a 6-tier A-frame that I haven't got set up right now. The room that I'm sitting in was an old master bedroom that I'm in the process of turning into a studio.
Score!
So, yeah. Awesome. But these are... once you get these assembled, they're very sturdy. They're great. And if you've got a lot of keyboards, they're not cheap because you also have to pay in euros and ship them here, but they're pretty cool.
Yep, that's cool. Here's one comment I'll probably put. He says, I said I'd always give both, blah, blah, to get a Jupiter 8 and still would by the day. Besides, the Saddlers looks good. Mm-hmm. Roger says, I still have an A80. Nice. Let's see. 80s A30 controller at my PC right now. Built like a tank. Simulated action. Cool. What's a musician without a girlfriend? Homeless? Absolutely true. Let's see. Max, stick to playing keyboards, not jokes. Stop that. It's okay. Let me see here.
That was awesome.
Let's see here. Jeroen says, my second keyboard years ago was a Prophet 600. I miss that instrument more than any I've ever owned. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I love having Stephen on here because we're expanding a little bit, just talking about history of keyboards in general. It's just so much fun. God,
well, it brings back great memories. And
Prophet 600 was a great instrument. And that was one that I really wanted.
Yeah.
But I ended up getting the Korg Poly 800 because I couldn't quite afford the Prophet 600, which I think was about a $2,000 instrument.
Yeah. Everything was about $2,000 back then or more.
Oh, absolutely. And then let's see. JMac Q77, Roland JX10. Oh, wasn't that the one with the flat buttons? It was like JX10. It was like totally digital. I can't even remember.
Yeah, I think it was around that time.
Step up from the JX8P, the Super JX.
Oh yeah. That was flat. I remember. And that's everything had their own little programmers back in those days. Shout out to Chris Nicholson. He says 3 of my favorite synth buddies. Shout out.
Piano Man from Florida.
Yeah, from Florida.
He's so many keyboards and does so many construction projects on pianos. He's a powerhouse.
Chris's construction videos of how he turns like a digital piano into like a portable piano shell and everything that he can. Yeah. It's incredible. I totally love that. Let's see. What does Stephen think? Oh, okay. What does Stephen think of the Fantom these days?
Okay, we're gonna put me on the spot.
Okay, only if you want to. You don't have to. I was just throwing up questions. Yes, it's all good.
This is I'll tell you. I'm reviewing it on Music Player Network right now in what we call the MPN Gear Lab, and it's not really a review. It's more of an interactive clinic where I write little installments about different features, and people can come and log into the forums, ask questions. I'll try to answer them. I make little videos, and I'm just getting started on the Fantom. And so far, so good. There's a lot to it.
Yeah, that's a lot to it.
And I'm sort of trying to go through kind of one department at a time. So I've just dug into writing about the V-Piano features. The V-Piano mode, because it's got an entire... V-Piano was a standalone Roland instrument, a $6,000 instrument introduced in 2009.
Yes.
It's all physical modeling-based piano. Yeah. You can tweak tuning and harmonic profiles note by note, as well as adjust other piano parameters like lid position and duplex scale and sympathetic resonance. And that's got an entire V piano in here, but it's also kind of got a clip style sequencer.
Yep.
In it, and trigger pads. It's got these. I think my favorite thing about it so far is the connectivity. Because it specialization has kind of become the norm. There's been a big hardware boom in synthesizers, but they've all been sort of specialist instruments, right? Clone wheel organs, analog synths, virtual analog synths, wavetable synths like the Hydra synth, digital synths like the Waldorf Quantum. They've all got a very specific character. But about 20 years ago, the do-it-all workstation was the king of the keyboards. Yeah. The aesthetic was that you wanted one keyboard to rule them all, and get as much functionality as you could out of one instrument. And this harkens back to those days, but in a very, very modern way. And it's just got tons of connectivity on it. It's got XLR outs. It, in addition to being able to host a USB drive, it can host USB devices. So it's got USB-A ports that you can hook an iPad directly up to it, or another synth with a USB input directly up to it and host it there. It's got two pairs of CD and gate outs. Yeah. This is designed to be the keyboard that you plug everything else into, and that you plug into everything else. Yeah. And I that's how I came up, wanting one of those things to sort of sit in the center of my studio.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's sort of two. Here's the way that I put it. There's sort of two kinds of home studio people. If you take your two monitor speakers, right, and the sweet spot between those two monitor speakers, you have one thing or the other sitting on the desk between those two monitor speakers. You have a mixing console or you have a keyboard workstation. And I'm the kind of musician that has a keyboard workstation between his two monitor speakers.
Amen, brother.
And, and that is really what this is meant to be. And we can get into some of the specific features later.
Yeah, definitely. So absolutely. Here, I'm just a couple more comments. Andres says, my very first keyboard was a Farfisa organ that I purchased in a pawn shop in 1974. Traded in my favorite stereo system and other stuff for it. That was the liftoff for many keyboards to follow. Farfisa. Oh my! I always think of Farfisa as like for surfer music. Just
yeah, kind of that sound. Yeah.
Here's another story that drives me crazy. Guy in Florida bought a fully functional JP8 at a Goodwill store for $30. The people at the Goodwill store thought it was a toy because of the colored buttons. Oh,
never freaking happens to me.
Don't you wish? Why aren't we that guy? Why aren't we that guy? I will tell you a story real quick though. I was at a store and it was just years ago. Well, it was years ago, and I was with Roland. And I'm training at a store, and they had a D50 there for like really, really cheap. And I was training on whatever the current Roland was at the time. And there's this D50 that's totally clean, and I was just like, oh wow. And I was on the phone with my wife, like, oh man, I think I'm gonna get it. And she's like, oh, and this random dude is like, oh, what is this? And I said, oh, it's a D50 and it does this and it sounds this and blah, blah, blah. And then he bought it. And since he was the customer, he's like, he essentially took it from me.
You totally sold it to him.
I totally sold it. And that was not my intent. Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh, I'm going to buy it. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, I didn't know. I was like, why could you shut up?
When I lived in Santa Barbara, a friend of where I went for grad school, and grad school went very slowly because I wound up playing in a funk band. But when I lived in Santa Barbara, a friend of mine found a like $50, maybe it was as much as $100, perfect Hammond A100.
Nice. Jeez. I have a good question for you here. It's a good question. It says, James says, Stephen, what was your favorite interview at Keyboard and who surprised you the most?
Great question.
Great question.
It is hard to pick a favorite.
Yeah.
I think one of my best and favorite and surprising are two different things. I think one of my favorite experiences ever was interacting with Booker T. Jones.
Yeah.
Because I got to sit on the organ bench next to him as the video ran and talk about how he actually played a lot of his classic hits. And he is also just such a warm, wonderful, intelligent person that Booker T really stands out in my mind. Certainly, Mike Garson, the lifelong keyboard player for David Bowie, is up there. Mm-hmm. Most surprising, I would have to say, was Justin Timberlake.
That he could actually play, right? Yeah, because he can actually play.
I interviewed him. It was in 2008. And it was Kevin Antunes, who some of us know, his musical director, set this whole thing up for me. And and in 2000, Justin Timberlake has evolved into this, this funny, interesting, multifaceted entertainer.
Yeah, absolutely.
But my image of him in 2008 was that he was a guy from a boy band. I didn't want to like him.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I knew this. Well, let's look like a hell. At that time, we were thinking, let's put major pop stars on the cover of Keyboard and try and get newsstand sales up, right?
Yep.
And so I was tech editor at the time, number 2, and I went down to the San Jose HP Pavilion there in the amphitheater. I don't know what it's called now. And we interviewed Justin, and it was me and Michael Gallant, one of the other editors. And, Justin turned out to be this very studied, articulate student of music, very sensitive to the African-American roots of pop music and of the kind of music he did. And it stands to reason that he would be, having grown up in Memphis. And but here's a guy who came through the Mickey Mouse Club, Lou Pearlman's Child Star machine in Orlando, Florida, right? And he was just so musical and so ready to talk about music and influences and synths, and how much he loved guitars because of Prince and because of Morris Day and the Time. And I walked out of there just really, really liking the guy.
You're like, what? What just happened?
And I told him, I said, you know what? I came in here thinking you were a guy from a boy band, and I'm an editor at this sort of Muso magazine, and I came in here not wanting to like you. And he's like, I get it. And he's like, how do you feel now? I was like, man, I'm just really grateful for this interview. I had a wonderful time, and you're a wonderful guy. And so that was my most surprising was Justin Timberlake.
Wow.
And I will always remember that because he was so gracious and just so on it.
That's really
pretty
cool.
wild. Yeah, that's pretty wild because you wouldn't think that when you look at someone like him, but his musical choices, and then I know his keyboard player. I'm not sure if he was still with him, but Justin Gilbert was one of his main keyboard guys on the more recent tours, and his band was rocking in this last couple of years with the horn section and stuff like that. I just totally digging that.
Yeah,
totally digging that. Anybody else that was like how was it with Chester Thompson? That's the one that I'm the most jealous when because he's come by the Roland booth at NAMM, and I would have stepped out, and then it's like I missed him. You guys know I want to meet him. What? And so how was it with Chester Thompson from for you guys who don't know? Yeah, Chester Thompson.
I lived in the Bay Area when I was working at Keyboard, and he was a Bay Area guy too.
Yeah.
He was so generous about, okay, I'm going to show you exactly how I do what I do. Yeah, that squib cakes thing, here is exactly what I'm doing. Point the camera right at the P3 keyboard. And, he was not holding anything back. And that was really, really cool. Booker T was the same way.
So crazy. Let me put up a couple more questions. David says, Phantom 7 is my favorite instrument since the Bell Duo Vox accordion. Whoa, way back here. See, excuse me. Ben Carell said, I ended up buying all the synths I couldn't buy from the past. Love using my JD 990. Still nothing like it. Oh, JD 990, just the way it looks on top is cool.
Yep.
Real quick, Nick says, any chance of a Juno DS 49 key? I'm not sure. Probably not, because we have 61, 76, and 88. But 61 that would be your best chance. But I never know what exactly Roland's going to do until they do it.
That's true. It's very
true. Enzo says, I found a Poly 800 for $250 last month on Craigslist, but I was 30 minutes late getting there. I was very sad. Sorry, dude. Here we go. Piano Man Torres, friend of ours. He's in Florida, Miami, and also Puerto Rico area. He says, hi, talking about the Rhodes, I sold my Mark V electric piano to buy a Roland RD200. Whoa, old school there. Digital piano when I first appeared on Keyboard Magazine. Oh, cool. As a matter of fact, most of the keyboards I loved and drooled over thanks to Keyboard Magazine, Stephen Fortner. Oh, you're like a drug dealer, Stephen. He says, I had a collection of magazines like everyone back since 1979. Thanks, guys, and stay safe. Awesome.
Thank you.
How does that make you feel like with what you've done with Keyboard Magazine and what you're a part of, that's actually influenced so many players throughout the years? How does that make you feel?
Well, I mean, first of all, I got to go in there standing on the shoulders of giants because I started freelance writing for them in '98 and came in full time beginning of '06, and it was around for a long time before that. It started. Started in 1975.
You became one of the faces of it, versus a lot of the other chief editors and things like that. People think of Stephen Fortner as keyboard.
Because of YouTube and stuff,
Partially because I think I was lucky enough to sort of get in there in the internet age,
when
you could sort of attach a face to it. I think well, I've had the privilege of meeting all of the other editors in chief, at one point or another. And I think, guys like Tom and Dominic Milano, were certainly huge, and we're certainly as much a face of that brand as anyone. And I've also got to give a shout out to Ernie Rideout, who taught me most of what I know. And to Mark Vale, who actually gave me my first freelance writing assignment.
Shout out to Mark Vale.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a really special thing. I remember when I first discovered it. I felt like I was young. I didn't understand half of what I was reading because I was a kid. But I felt like someone had made a magazine for me.
Mm-hmm.
My parents really wanted me to practice piano. And my family that raised me consisted of my mother and my maternal grandparents. But they figured I was so obsessed with Star Trek and spaceships and things. They figured if they got me something with blinky lights all over it, I'd spend more time at the keyboard. And they were right. And that's how we got the Hammond organ.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm incredibly proud to be a part of it. And it's interesting that you mentioned that, because the Music Player Network, where I'm writing now, started out in 2000 as part of Keyboard Magazine. And it wasn't just part of Keyboard Magazine, it was the umbrella reader forums for keyboard, guitar player, bass player, EQ, and then eventually EM. And, it had celebrity moderators on it like Craig Anderton. Dave Bryce was the longtime moderator of the Keyboard Corner forum. And so it started out as a part of the magazines. And then when the magazines got bought and sold several times, it was sort of like new ownership regimes didn't realize these forums were there. They didn't pay any attention to them.
Yeah.
New Bay briefly shut them off, and there was a huge public outcry, and they turned them back on. Late last year, I believe, last year fall, Dave Bryce was able to wrest control of the forums and ownership of the forums back from Future, who didn't want them, and make them independently owned. So Dave Bryce is now the managing director, and I am one of the senior editorial partners. And Music Player, which was the interactive online home of Keyboard Magazine and the other magazines, is now not owned by a huge publishing company with private equity overlords to please, and we're really able to fulfill our old motto of by musicians for musicians.
Yeah, and for those of you that don't know David Bryce, he is the Tasmanian devil of our synth community. He is just so full of energy. He's a great brother of ours. And just take a look at this.
The old school Elisa's guys. Dave Bryce is the Billy Mays of the MI industry.
Yeah. And so if you guys want to, you can always start off at musicplayernetwork.com. I want you guys to see this and just kind of go through there and kind of go, and you can go right to the forums, and you can go, if you want to, forums.musicplayer.com. And Stephen, this is a music player network that's owned by musicians for musicians, not the corporate overlords, as you put it. That's something that's pretty cool. And you can even see who the moderator of these are, stuff that you're kind of talking about. You can see some of the guys in there that you guys might recognize. And so if you want to interact with the synth community and some of the synth historians or people that you kind of follow there, this is great. Just kick in there and you can go ahead and just start kind of interacting with everybody. Look at that. You can just kind of have some fun in there.
Forums are always cool.
Yep. So look, that's something that is really, really cool. So especially since it's by musicians for musicians. So that's totally cool in there. Man, now we're starting to get to, I'm looking at the chats in here from Facebook and YouTube. And there's a lot of comments. We'll just go scan through them real quick.
Because you're famous, Stephen.
Yeah, you're famous. And it says, one says, If you can't afford a Phantom, try to find a Roland JV1000. I have two, and they still sound amazing. Actually, yeah, they'll still sound good. Enzo, how far from multi-sampling on our Phantoms are we? Would you guess? And I'm like, a lot closer than you think. There's a lot of people from Roland working all over the world for you. Enzo also states the Waldorf Iridium desktop of the Quantum looks super cool. Yeah. That's cool. Is Roland going to create another rack synth? I don't know. As soon as if and when they do, I will share it when I am legally.
Roland is doing Eurorack. They're doing Eurorack.
Yep.
I mean, you can almost class like the Jupiter XM as a desktop with bonus keyboard. I think they kind of went that way for now, because you got, over 4,000 sounds in the Jupiter XM, which are Zen Core, and Phantom has Zen Core, and then you got all the models. So yeah, that's probably, the Integra is still doing well.
A question I've gotten from people on the forums is why were the Jupiter X, the big one, why were speakers built into that?
I think because the XM had it, and they probably felt that they need to keep them the same. That's my guess.
The XM has speakers as well. Okay.
Yeah.
But the thing is,
I just found out it had speakers the other day.
Yeah. The thing is, with both of them, they've got two headphone outputs. So you've got one in the back and one in the front, which is unlike anything we've done. There's always been either the front or the back. This one has both. So I don't know, but that's my guess. That's the first thing I did for me personally, is I turned off the speakers.
Yep. Let me see here. Let's see here. Let's see. Some people like the Farfisa V collection from Arturia. Shout out to our friends at Arturia. DJJ, good thought, Stephen. I'm a DAW user, but this Phantom is edging me into workstation, hence why I want to know about mastering and pedals, but good pre-review. Oh, let's talk about this. I saw this comment earlier on Facebook. This gentleman, I think DJJ, was asking about using the Phantom for mastering. And I would want to find your thoughts, but I think of a Phantom and other keyboards. I think of them as all tools in the giant toolbox. You know what I mean? And we're talking about the Phantom being the end all, which it covers a lot of check marks for me. But when I get into the area of like mastering, I might go out into something that's all it does. What are your thoughts about a Phantom or any workstation being like the end all, even with mastering? You know,
I don't really know of any keyboard workstations that are set up for that. I mean,
yeah,
they're set up so that you can process audio. You can process external audio through the effects and through some parts of the synth engine. I believe you can process external audio through the analog filter on the Phantom, because it's got this cool real analog filter in addition to the modeled DSP filters. But mastering in the sense of mastering a track,
a finished track,
mastering a mix, I wouldn't, honestly, a keyboard workstation wouldn't be the tool I'd reach for.
No.
There, maybe a software package like IK Multimedia T-Rex.
Oh, that's been around forever too. That does a good job.
Yeah. Or Isotope, of course. All of their stuff, but mastering. Unless the commenter means something else by mastering, I would just say no. This is a composition tool.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, I mean, most keyboards out there that are on the market, the sounds are already pretty polished. They're pretty compressed. They're pretty done. What you would expect is a finished sound. It's when you start bringing in other instruments that you really need it to be more mastered. But I mean, a keyboard to me has always been almost kind of done in a sense,
Yeah. So that whole mastering thing to me was kind of like, because I have my keyboard wall here, which is about to be expanded to 20 feet. Yes. So anyway, I have an addiction. So, but the keyboards to me, no matter what they are just, that is my source of inspiration and kind of getting everything set. And then of course, now with this Phantom being able to go USB audio directly to my DAW, and I tend to use Ableton and Logic, it's just like, okay, once I have the sounds from the keyboard into the DAW, then I finish my work in the DAW with whatever plugins, be it mastering or whatever. So that's something's cool. Let's see here. I started a monster here. Let's see. Hold on. Of course, Max Zape. He says Chester is my friend's cousin. Super cool cat and humble. He's my Yoda. Me too. Me too, man. Definitely want to meet up with him one day, at least just for a drink or a lunch or something. J Max says I found a DX21 at Goodwill for $20. Score. Oh, here's another. Don says, "Hey guys, how much longer until the next firmware update?"
Patience.
Hold on, people are working, and of course, Stephen. Yeah, patience you must definitely have. I know you see this too when guys want an update. We're working on it, and there is a pandemic going on, so we are working. So just
on that topic, guys, what I'd be curious to know, I know my readers are curious to know.
Yeah,
is this does everything but drawbar organ, VK VR style organ.
All right.
Right, it has sampled organ sounds. It has Zencore organ sounds, but is the architecture of the Phantom such that with a firmware update you could introduce a VK style drawbar organ like you have, for example, in the RD2000?
I'll take this. I want to say, yes, it probably is. Yes, it probably is. And I know we've talked about various plans publicly. I'm not sharing anything that's top secret, but so I wouldn't be surprised if the Phantom at some point got that ability. I can't speculate when, but I wouldn't be surprised if it got that ability. For myself personally, I don't really care if the Phantom has drawbar, the virtual tone wheels, because I kind of like to have my virtual tone wheel organ in a separate piece, so live I still use a VK8. Sometimes I use the Roland VR730, and I also have a VK88 here that I would take out for big gigs, just because you want to show out with the dual manual kind of thing. So, but I always have, no matter when I gig, I always have a Phantom of some kind with me. If it was the old ones, but I always have a Phantom with me for my heavy lifting of all my synths and electric pianos and stuff. But I always have a separate synth, such as the V synth, which is now being the Jupiter X is now taking its spot. But then I always have an organ, because Stephen, I have my affection for funk music, and I just love having a organ in the rig, and I want that particular organ. That's its job. That's all it does. I don't, and I think the Phantom could get that one day, that ability. I'm not speculating, but I personally like it. I would rather have the Phantom focus on other stuff and get a VR730 or a VR09B or something like that. All right. And
on that topic, the first in recent memory, the first Roland product I bought, not going back to like Juno and Jupiter days, but more recently, was in 97 or 98. I bought a VK7.
It's killer, yeah.
First came out, and that thing was life changing.
Yes.
At the time, it was superior to any other organ clone out there.
Absolutely. And for all my traditional people out there, we're not going to get into the fight of B3, real tone wheels versus tone virtual. All I'm going to say is, if you have a killer B3 with real tone wheels, keep it pristine. Use it at the studio. Use it for those very important events. But for this banging out gigs or doing stuff, right, Stephen? That clone wheel, it will save your back.
Yeah.
It's just nice. And I know I've been in playing situation, and I was actually using a VK7. Now that you mentioned, when I was on the road years ago, and I saw people kind of bop in, and I'm just doing my thing. And then they see one of the guys who obviously was a keyboard player, because I saw his face. As soon as he saw it was a clone wheel VK7, he made like that stinky face. And I talked to him on the break. I'm like, I said, dude, you liked it until you saw it. So just shut up. You liked it until I saw your face. You were like, yeah. And then you saw it was a clone. You're like, oh. And I'm like, you liked it. Don't even lie.
Yeah, but I mean, even a B3 is a clone, is it not?
Well, I don't want to go there.
No. A real tone wheel organ is not a clone.
Real tone.
Yeah, but we're talking, the original organs were clones of pipe organs.
Oh, well.
If you really want to go down that path.
Well, yeah, and it sounded nothing like a pipe organ, but their own sound became sought after. The same way the Rhodes piano sounded nothing like an acoustic piano, but
or TR-808 sounded like nothing like a drums, or the TB-303 didn't sound like a real
Or
bass.
Jupiter 8 sounded
Jupiter.
nothing like a real violin.
Oh my God! So yeah, here's a funny thing. Speaking of organs and pipe organs, what pipe organs are made of pipes, right? And so you have to have the certain footage to make that particular frequency for that. And then so that came into the B3 organs, right? So it says those little numbers above the drawbars, those are the footage. But then when we go into synthesizers, they all have footage also for the different oscillator pitches and stuff like that. So I guess we'll save that for if we get Mark Vail on here. We can talk about his book, Beauty of the Bee. Yeah, I love that book. But we'll talk about that later because we can talk about all the nuances and the crazy things about Hammond and Leslie. You know, not the current version of Hammond and Leslie, but the old school version. That's cool. Chris Nicholson, he says Stephen is the keyboard editor king. Nice. Checks in the mail. Let me see here. Where are we? Cool. Man, just a lot of shout outs to you, Stephen. I have a stack of keyboard magazines from the 80s and 90s, and it would be quite amazing how thick and full of good writing and info they have. Not like some other publications. Okay, that's cool. Roger Hooper said that's a great description of Dave. Bundle of energy. Yeah, totally. He's a Tasmanian devil. I love and I fear Dave. So, yeah. Especially when he gets excited. Have you had this, Steve? When David Bryce gets excited, he breaks that. You know, there's a certain spot where when you're talking to somebody, it's like, okay, I need my space. He breaks that space, and he's like, yeah, just back up, Dave. So anyway, now I'm doomed. Next time he sees me, he's gonna break that space. Mm-hmm. He's like, what are you talking about? So it's cool. People shouting out to the old Phantom, the first Phantom 76, and to the Phantom X, JV1000. Let's see. Other people totally agree that not for mastering, more precise tools are there. Yep. That's cool. I think man, we got a lot of stuff. 5080 kicks all kinds of butt, and it's now on Roland Cloud.
Yeah, it's in the Jupiter X and Jupiter XM.
And all the Integra 7 stuff in it.
Yeah, a lot of all that stuff. And let's see. Wanted to know about an update? We will share as soon as we are legally allowed to, because we like working. So that's. Hey, Stephen, that has to be tough for you. Like,
prototypes or announcements.
Prototypes and announcements, and people that you don't know come up to you or send you DMs and like, hey, Stephen, I know you don't know me and you could sacrifice your career, but what's coming out new? So,
yeah, I don't know. I haven't been, surprisingly, I haven't been in that position all that much.
Good.
I have had, I have been party to a couple of unintentional leaks.
Yeah.
Where, at one point, one of them was the Jupiter 80, actually.
Oh, God, yeah. I was there.
That. Yeah. So what happened with that was when the Jupiter 80 was coming out, we had we were beginning to do digital editions of the magazine.
Yep.
And this was the sort of lame idea of trying to put a print experience on your computer screen, which management thought was the bee's knees for about a minute. So the digital edition was like one of those, it was like a 2-page PDF. You'd blow up to full screen mode, and you'd click on the corner of a page, and the page would have a flip animation. And
I remember that.
Page turning sound effect. And, and so the digital edition had a standard URL structure. There was, keyword magnet /this/year/month, whatever, and then /page number. Right. So, because our security was not very good, we would develop the digital edition at the same time as the print edition. And so the Jupiter 80 was a cover. It was a keyboard magazine cover because it was such a significant. It was the first time in forever that Roland was releasing something called a Jupiter.
Yeah.
And so we were working on this digital. We turned all the PDF the proofs that go to the printer are essentially very high-res PDF files. And then we do a lower-res version of those for the web. And we do these all the same. And then we do an announcement that the new digital edition is live. Except somebody was able to figure out the URL structure, and they just put the following month in the URL. That officially didn't exist yet. Yeah. And then boom, there was all the info in the Jupiter 80.
Oh man!
And to make matters worse, this actor reproduced the PDF on their website and cropped off the bottom of the page where the Keyboard Magazine logo was with the page numbers and passed it off as their own.
Yeah.
And I called this guy. I don't know if I should. I know who he is.
Don't say his name.
He's I don't think he's really a player anymore. But then once he put it online on his blog, reputable sites like Jim and Liz at Synthtopia picked it up.
Yeah.
And I had to call them and tell them to take it down.
Love Synthopia. Anyway.
We do love Synthtopia, and Jim and Liz are dear friends, and that was my first interaction with them, was being the corporate heavy. But so I've been party to a couple of leaks like that.
Yeah.
But
that one was huge. That was huge.
Yeah, and it was just someone hacked our. I really wouldn't even call it a hack because at the management level, our IT security wasn't happening.
Yeah. Well, everybody's was learning digital a lot. Mm-hmm. It was newer. It was learning, and let's do an online magazine. What's this? And I think iPads were still in their infancy, and that stuff. And that was
able to just type a guess into the address bar in the browser, and there was the upcoming magazine.
Yeah.
Prior to the product release date in the clear.
Yeah. Yeah. That was crazy. I know it, Roland. That was like, because we cannot talk about things until they're official. There's NDAs and stuff like that, and who did it and what's this, and then we found out about that typing in the link, and we were just like, what? And then who in marketing back in Japan or keyboard or whoever, why would you just do it like what? So it was just like, well, it's cat's out of the bag. Just for all you for all you people that do that, stop it. We work very hard, and you just ruined the surprise. So stop it. So that's good. Let's see. Here we go. Here's go. Piano Man Torres, who's my old bro, he says, does anyone know if manufacturers like Roland will be producing more affordable performance synths like the VR09 or Diaz performance? I think you answered your own question right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Diaz is still very, very viable. And if they were to come out with something else, I think it would be somewhere in that category.
Yeah. I think I see a lot of the other keyboard manufacturers, we have everybody has their flagships, but everybody also has those more working man kind of keyboards that you can bring down and like, oh, I can afford this and go make some money with this, hopefully soon. But I think that's going to happen.
But it's like, some people will say the Juno DS, or as Ed likes to say, I am Ed DS and this is the Juno DS.
Yes, it's my keyboard.
It's still classed somewhat as an entry level, and the thing is way more powerful than that. I mean, the Juno DS is kind of where what we were talking about. The original Phantoms were minus the linear sequencing. It's got that kind of power to it. So for an entry level or under $1,000 keyboard, even for an 88 key is pretty phenomenal to me with that.
Yeah, so that's something that's cool. Let me see here. Let's see. I see Michael hit me up later I'm just trying to go through some of these, on here. Let's blah, 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 blah. Okay. I think we're good on questions. I was trying to get ones because there's some that are asking like, hey, how do you do this? How do you do that? We'll get to there. But, I really just wanted to focus on Stephen today and just give him the whole kind of thing. And we're just all over the place, I realize, which is kind of fun. Let's see. I'll show this one. This one gets a little bit long. It says, thanks for being here and for all the helpful, interesting, and fun content. And then he tells me he's experiencing some of his erratic behavior, on the EV5 expression pedal on the Phantom 8 when using several layers. It could be, maybe it's a bad cable, someone there. That might be it.
There could be lots of reasons.
Yeah. I'll answer you later. Just send me a DM and I'll check the DMs and we can figure that out in there.
Can you adjust? I haven't dug in this deep yet. Is it possible to adjust the scaling of the pedal sweep for layers individually on the Fantom?
Oh, as far as yeah, okay. So on the Fantom,
yeah.
Show your screen, Scott, and I'll
I suppose I want one layer to go from 0 to 127, but the other layer to only sweep from 35 to 85.
Minimums. He's basically looking for minimums. So
show your screen.
Let me see if I can even find it.
That might solve this. That might solve this gentleman's problem. Is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Here, as soon as Scott's ready. Yeah, because you can go into the Fantom and Stephen and all of you out there, you can go into the Fantom and you can have the zones react to different messages depending on the pedal. So you can have, and we've shown that before, and we'll show that again. But I'll let Scott kind of once Scott throws up his screen, I'll make it so you guys can see the screen.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if there's even an option for that in.
Here, show your screen, Scott, and then.
I don't see anything in the zone edit for that directly. So I'd have to figure out where. Let me think here. I mean, obviously you've got the filters, the MIDI filter for the on and off, and then the external. That's not going to do it.
There's a thing that's a pedal control.
Yeah, there you go.
There it is. Yeah.
Range. Okay. Yeah.
So Scott, start over again, just so show me how you got to that screen.
Menu, scene edit, because I was thinking the exact zone edit, but it's actually scene edit, and then it's just from general down to pedal, and then you have a pedal assign, a minimum and a maximum. Now, at the same time, even if you go into an effect, for instance, you should have similar options with some of the effects to have a minimum or a maximum. So it really depends on the effect. But for the pedals, again, menu, scene edit. So again, scenes and things like that can be affected by a scene edit or a system control, depending on how you set things up. The scene edit's a little bit better because it can be per scene, where a system's going to be global for everything. But yeah, there's your minimum and your maximum.
Yeah, so that's great. That's great to see. And that was for Michael Madeline on Facebook. Yeah, you can do that. You would just have to go through some of that kind of stuff in there. And that's per scene. So another scene could have a whole new, different set of parameters set per pedal. Or
but as far as the individual zones with how much they're affected by it, that's something I'd have to dig into. That's a little bit.
Or also just try a different pedal.
Yeah.
That's kind of a bonehead thing to say, but.
No, it's not. Sometimes the bonehead stuff, as you said, it's like it's the common. It's like, oh, that makes totally sense. Like personally, I like the Boss volume pedals, the big chunky volume pedals. What are they called? The FV50L? Yeah. I love
500L.
500L. I love those because the cable is actually separate. Obviously, it's something else you got to buy, but if the cable goes bad, because cables go bad, you just throw away that cable and bring in another one. So,
the other thing too, with different expression pedals from different manufacturers, the velocity or the curve is different. Some actually have a swoop or a curve, or some are linear. So sometimes different pedals will give you different results.
Absolutely. Okay, let's see. Matt says, I would love to see a rack Fantom with an amazing Zencore engine for us wind controller guys. Oh, troublemaker, wind controllers. Oh, yeah.
It would be the Roland Ractum.
Yeah, this would get that.
I'm pushing it, right? The Ractum.
J-Mac says, Roland SRX expansion boards, baby. Yep. Those used to be the big thing, but now they're all available on Roland Cloud. You can go there.
And you have internal expansion memory into which you can load basically images of expansion boards.
Yeah.
16.
Yeah. So
actually now percentage, it's different. It's not a number.
Yeah, it's not a number in the old sense, but yeah, you can do Supernatural virtual expansion boards and the SRX expansion boards in there, plus all the other downloadable content that you can put in there. So remember, Stephen, the Roland used to be max. It used to be max 4 SRX or more, or 4 SRJV expansion boards, and then we did the combo kind of thing with the XV3080 and then the 5080 also, and then the XV2080, which could put 8 expansion boards. And so, like Scott and I were talking on this new Fantom, you can have over 9,000 sounds. It's just crazy.
You know what you should bring back in some way though? The ARX boards for the Fantom G.
Oh, the ARX, yeah.
Like that brass board that did the Divisi arranging, that was killer.
That was the beginning of Supernatural. The Supernatural brass and everything. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. The graphics and everything else was just absolutely amazing on those.
And you know, as we get more into Supernatural, into the Phantoms, there's a good chance that will be in there. But because it actually lives inside the Jupiter 80 can do it, but a lot of guys don't know you have to turn it on within there, that capability. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty cool. Quick shout out to Nick Kenfield over there. If we don't say hi to her, she will yell at us, so we have to say hi. So that's good.
She's already left. Hi and then bye.
Okay, well then we don't care about Nikki now, so I'm just joking. Let's see here. Let's see. Use expression, not MIDI volume. Okay, let's see. That's from the
good
other
advice. One. Good advice.
Someone says Boss is the best. They owned by Roland, by the way. Yeah, Boss and Roland, same peeps.
Yep.
Right there. And I was just talking to our guitar guy Austin earlier today about video, because we're all learning about video all the time. Oh yes. What's there's Chris? I have SRX and SRGV. Let's see here. DJJ says, "Whoop! The 500L pedal is one I've ordered the other day. So glad I got the one with the right ones. I wanted something that will last, forever." Absolutely. You could throw that pedal at somebody, but not that I advocate that, but you definitely could if they don't pay you. So yeah,
it's a weapon.
It's a weapon. So it says here, Piano Mantora says, "Stephen, I know that Lyle's Mays appeared a few times on the magazine. Can you tell us anything about the late Lyle's Mays?"
Awesome.
I never got to interview him. I believe I've only met him once, and it was just a high and by backstage at the concert. Mm-hmm. So I really never got to discuss music with him. And yeah, he has been in keyboard a bunch and is certainly huge in my universe. I put him alongside Joseph Zamo as someone who got these really organic singing, breathing, alive sorts of sounds out of synthesizers, mm-hmm. whether it was for leads or for comping chords or whatever it was. Certainly nobody else sounded like him.
Yeah.
Nobody else sounded like him. And I wish I had more to say about him, but on my watch, I really did not interact with him directly, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's a bummer when because we have lost players. I remember I was fortunate enough to meet George Duke.
Me too.
Before he passed away, and so for me, when I met him at a NAMM show, he was really, really nice. He was really nice, and I was I was like a kid again, and I got to meet George Duke, and then when he passed, I was just like, I was really bummed for a lot of different, for because it's George Duke, but then also was like, I just met him. It's like, man,
13, I think I got to go to his house.
Oh my God! How? Okay. Wow. You just can't say that, Stephen. What happened?
I got videos of that, actually.
Dude.
So yeah, he was. I just got to tour his home studio and see his Castlebar whammy clev and all of his gear, and talk about Frank Zappa, playing with Frank Zappa, and so forth. And that was a bit. Not long after that, he passed away. Nobody knew at the time he was fighting cancer.
Yeah, and that was for those of you that aren't hip to George Duke, and I'm it happens, but yeah, look up George Duke. That's definitely another key player that you definitely not to have to be on here. Oh, and I wanted to bring up also real quick, since we're speaking about George Duke, I wanted to talk about have you spoken or met Greg Philliganes?
Yes.
I've seen him speak a couple times, and I've watched him play on the Spectrasonics videos, for a Keyscape. God, that guy is
mm-hmm.
He is killer. So do you have any kind of a Greg Philliganes story? He is killer.
I really don't have any pithy stories. Other than that, when I was editor-in-chief, I think later during my tenure, we gave him his first cover because he had never been on the cover of Keyboard, and I thought that was just
wrong.
Insane. Yeah.
Wrong.
And he was there was a Cirque du Soleil tribute to Michael Jackson
show
that was happening that Phil Gaines was playing on, and that was the apropos to put him on the cover. But really, we talked about his entire career, and one of the apocryphal stories about Phil Gaines is that he really could not afford, his family couldn't afford to buy him very many records growing up. But they had a piano, and so he would hear something. He would hear a song he liked, and the way that he would remember the song is to learn it and play it on the piano. And he had this photographic musical memory.
Wow.
And would just hear something once or twice and then go back and be able to play it thereafter. And yeah, he is
sick.
Arguably the most hired session keyboardist in the business.
Yes. Yeah. And every time I've seen him, he just seems like such a nice cat. He just seems so nice,
Funny, he has got so much talent, and it's like I saw an interview with him with somebody. I think it might have been Mitch Gallagher, but he had asked him about people come up to him and ask him, "Do you have like a sound set, or do you sell your own libraries of sounds?" And he's like, "I just play the presets. I don't create stuff. I play presets. These companies worked hard to make those presets.
Yep.
Who am I to change those? And I just thought that was so cool."
Yeah, he's amazing. I watch that Spectrasonics video sometimes when I'm getting set up in my studio where he's playing Keyscape, and he's just kind of Eric Pearson. They're just kind of throwing tunes at him in the past, and he just nails every one. He's just like, "Oh, I think it goes like this," and it's just like, boom, nails it. It's just he's a keyboard player. He's just killer. Shout out from Christian in London. Christian, I hope you're having a pint or whatever there in London, because it's about that time there. I think it's about 6 hours from us. J Mac, good afternoon from Texas. Me too, also. Let's see. Hi, guys. Sitting in front of a Fantomate listening to Synth Talk. You guys are awesome. Thank you, Peter. Let's see. Michael states only EV5 can be used. Oh, yeah, use the 5.
Yeah, you connect with that. It's there because it's only what Roland can test. Right then. So no, you're fine.
Yep. Let's see. Enzo says had the chance to see Lyle Mays on the Pat Metheny on the Pat Metheny Speaking of Now tour in the early 2000s, and he was a true inspiration to watch.
And that circles back to the beginning of this thing with Pat Metheny with the Synclavir. Used to see him with it all the time. That was his thing.
Yep. Let me see here. Oh, let's see his. I met Nick Rhodes from Duran Duran and finally understood what all the hype was about the Beatles. I was so excited I couldn't speak. Nearly peed myself.
All right.
That's good. Yeah. Shout out to Robin Spears from Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Scott Norman with the Beatles. Let's see. I got to see. Everybody's digging this. You're doing so good, Stephen. Stephen, have you ever done interviews before? You should maybe get into this.
You should maybe get into this. Yeah.
Yeah, you should maybe get into like.
I'm setting the learning curve of streaming.
Oh yeah, we're all learning streaming.
Setup. I mean, you're just looking at me through my shitty webcam.
Damn it, Stephen. You need a nice mirrorless camera with an expensive lens. We need to talk cameras. We're gonna switch. We'll have Mike Martin on here, and we'll talk about cameras.
Oh yeah, he's the guy for that.
He's
stuff.
the dude.
I've got a. Well, you can see it behind me. That on the tripod there. That's a Sony A6300, like a baby A7.
That does great. That does great. Yeah, all these keyboard guys, we're all learning about cameras now and video. So get to it. Everybody learn so we can have do the best streams and stuff.
That's what we got to do. Yeah.
Christian says, thanks very much, sir. Hope you are well in this pandemic.
You as well.
Cool. Here's an interesting question. If you could own one synth, one sampler, which you don't own now. Well, take out that which you don't own now. If you can own one synth, one sampler, Look at Stephen. He's contemplating his
Are we
decision
talking about
because
past stuff or current thing? I would think
just it's just we're just talking about everything.
everything.
And Stephen, really think about what you're saying, because the fate of the world is if you could own one synth, one sampler, what would it be?
One.
Answer now.
Like we're talking about a desert island.
I guess so, desert island, or let's say you're trapped at home for the last 5 months and you can only own one keyboard. And you can't go to many music stores because there's a deadly virus out there,
Oh gosh.
That's so hard. That's not fair. Don't ask those questions. That's not fair.
It's. I mean, to take his original question, which I don't own now, and having accumulated gear for the last 25 years, I've got probably a couple dozen instruments. Yeah. One that I don't own right now, I'd probably want to go for some real boutique limited run analog thing like the Nifonium.
Oh, what is this?
It's a vacuum tube synthesizer. KNIF. Onium. ONIUM. The Nifonium or the Schmidt, which is the giant 8-voice synth.
Yeah, I remember the Schmidt. Yeah, Kurt Ader did some stuff on that.
There's a French synth called the River as well.
Oh,
the River.
You guys look this up. Stephen is spreading the gospel of what he would own. So that's cool. Man, you're saying some stuff that I'm like, what is that?
Mm-hmm.
What is that? So what do those just? What is the allure of that, Stephen? Because this is a crazy. That's a what do they do?
The Nifonium, and it's just this. It's this handmade. The keyboard is like a pipe organ keyboard.
Uh-huh.
It's this handmade analog, all vacuum tube synthesizer. So there's a separate power supply with it that's like this big.
Yeah.
It's just alive. It's alive. Is how I would describe it. It's a beautiful sounding instrument. And then probably like a Schmidt or a River to have a just super boutique, high quality analog power synth, power polysynth type thing.
That Schmidt is nasty looking. That's awesome.
Cool looking. Yeah.
Now for a modular system,
here we go.
About this guy, Walter Holland.
Mm-hmm.
Ever heard of Walter Holland?
I have not.
He makes modular gear out of like military and NASA grade components. Super, super high quality, very expensive.
Whoa. We're getting into the top secret. You got to be a special agent to get this kind of stuff. This is cool.
And then there's what else is there's the Nonlinear Labs C15, which is Stefan Schmidt, one of the founders of Native Instruments.
Mm-hmm.
And that's his all digital like modeling synth. That thing is very cool as well. But then again, probably just something from Roland.
There you go. Sweep it around.
Roland Fantom.
Yeah. let's pay the bills here, too.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good question.
A Jupiter 8, honestly. Jupiter 8 would be super high on the list.
A Jupiter 8?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh yeah. No, it's definitely cool. That's totally cool. I remember I had a lunch with Mr. Kakahashi, the late great Mr. Kakahashi from Roland, and we was talking about the Jupiter 4, the Jupiter 6, and the Jupiter 8, and then how, because this is when the 80 was out and all that stuff, and he was like, on the Jupiter 4, Mr. Kakahashi didn't really waste words, so every word he said, Jupiter 4, very difficult, stay in tune, so it just let me know that the engineers and Mr. Kakahashi back in those days worked very hard to get a synthesizer that could have 4 notes of polyphony and stay in tune. And then when the Jupiter 8 with 8 notes and then the 6 with MIDI, but you could tell in his voice and the look, he was just like, oh, that was tough. It worked really hard. So there you go, J Mac. No more of those kind of questions. Those are tough questions for all of us. Want them all. Because I know, I probably, Stephen, and I, like all of us, I have this keyboard for this sound. I have this particular keyboard because of this sound. I have this. Yeah, that's tough. Let's see. Someone's just asked, would you recommend 76 for learning proper keyboard playing, or would you 60? In my opinion, there is no proper keyboard.
Yeah.
In my opinion, unless you're doing classical, there's definitely a certain way. But then, like, I have small thumbs. I got these little mini thumbs, and so, yeah. So I just play.
I like 76, 73, 76 is a nice size.
That's my personal favorite. But yeah,
it's not as hard to carry as 88, but it gives me enough room to stretch out and
absolutely
meaningful, multi-way splits and multi-zone stuff. So I'm a big fan of 76.
Yeah, the one I don't understand is the 49. And the reason why, it's like I started on 61, and of course now I prefer 88. But every time I go to play an octave or something on a 49, I'm off. I fall off the keyboard. That's the only one that I don't quite get.
Look, Rick says he scanned the keyboard magazine cover. Share that, Rick. Share that so we can all. I wouldn't mind to have some of those covers and have them in.
I've got a triple redundant complete set on bookshelves.
Oh wow!
Whoa, awesome! Shout out Luigi says hi guys, hi Luigi, and let's see.
Hi.
J Max says 61's fine, cool. Let's see. Max says favorite NAMM memory: watching Stevie Wonder in the Yamaha booth with Greg Philliganes and Dennis DeYoung.
Wow.
Greg tells me this never gets old. Well, yeah, that's a heck of a combo. Greg Philliganes and Stevie Wonder, and that's, and Dennis DeYoung. That's hard to do. Let's see here. It says Christian says, I am new here. I just found YouTube, Sir Diaz, and I'm looking to help set up a mini studio at home. As to what do I need, it might be the wrong time, but don't know how to get any of you for device. You can, any of us for advice. There's a lot of good places. One place I might recommend that could be cool is you go to the Music Player Network.
Absolutely.
Forums.
Go to the forums page.
A lot of very learned opinion there.
Yeah, so a lot of great people on there into the forums, and you can ask. You can always DM me, but I probably like Scott and Stephen, we get DMs from all over the world, so it's really hard. It's really hard to get back to some people. It's tough, but you can go to the forums, and that's cool. Or also just join the local forums on Facebook and just ask some people what they do. For me, in my opinion, all you need for a studio, and nobody yell at me, I love a good sound source being a keyboard. If what your budget can get the best sounds you can afford, get some nice quality speakers, what your budget can afford, and an audio interface, and maybe a nice microphone, and just go to town. Your nice audio interface, and you're set to go.
This thing here, a decent laptop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that could be your studio.
Yeah,
this has got like but this can be your audio interface for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah. So and the Phantom is definitely an entry. It has an entry point, but I just want everybody just find a way. But just a couple of components, a way to make noise, a way to put that sound into the computer, be it an interface, a nice computer, and some good monitors or some good headphones or both. So yeah, just kind of start there and just start watching. Go to Music Player, go to YouTube. You're going to find all these different kind of talks, and yeah, we'll cover all this stuff, and it just kind of gets fun. So yeah, thanks for watching.
A ton of time on YouTube looking at different tutorials, whether if it's for cameras or video software that we're working with or any of that. I mean, that's where I live now. It seems to be YouTube for tutorials.
Yep. Let's see. I think we're gonna cut this off because poor Stephen, he's like, guys.
Well, I'm good. I'm having a great time.
Oh, okay, cool. Let's see here. I am looking. Let's see. Trying to bring up. Let's see. What does this say? Max says, "What keyboardist are you guys listening to during the pandemic?" I've been obsessed with Jacob Collier. Oh, Jacob Collier, Corey Henry, and Domi.
Yeah, I met Domi at Synth when we released the Phantom, September. Mm-hmm. One of the places we were there, and she just comes up and, oh my gosh, yeah, can that girl play?
Yeah. And Corey Henry, we've known him for a couple of years. I've been watching him since he was a little kid, and I got to meet him, I think, when the FA first came out years ago, and we spent some good time with him. And I reach out to Corey every now and then, just say hi. But Corey's a killer, a nice guy too, really nice.
I saw him last at that same event I was talking about. He was there.
Yeah. And then Jacob Collier out of the UK. God, that kid's sick.
Mhm.
He's just great players. I don't know. I think for me right now, I think Jacob Collier, also I always forget his name, Jose Acosta Molina.
Jesus or
Jesus. I'm sorry, Jesus Molina Acosta.
and he always looks happy while he's playing.
Yeah. What about you, Stephen? There's anybody that you're and Max just named some of the young guns. Oh, I kind of categorize as the young guns. You know, these are the newer people.
Well, they've been around a few years now. I love Jonah Nelson of Dirty Loops.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think he did a duet with Jacob Collier, actually. Neon Vines.
Mm-hmm.
The electronic artist Neon Vines. Marc Rebier, who is the guy who does the crazy stuff with the Boss Loop Station.
Oh yeah, the Looper people too. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a Looper guy, and he's hilarious. And R-E-B-I-L-L-E-T, Marc Rebier. He's hilariously entertaining. Someone I'd like to interview one of these days. So Mark, if you're out there and you hear this, hit me up.
So say his name again real quick. So
Marc Rebier.
Marc Rebier, hit up Stephen Fortner. He's looking for you.
Rebelette is how it's written, but Rebier would be the French pronunciation. There's a Canadian guy, speaking of French, there's a Canadian guy, Anomaly.
Oh, I love Anomaly.
Yeah.
His keyboard, what he's playing, his technique, or his work with Ableton is really wild. It's Anomaly's sick. So and I can't forget Justin Lee Schultz and his family there, his sister that plays drum, and Justin Lee Schultz. I think he's 13 now.
Yeah.
Maybe 14. He is sick. And then on the keys, but then now he also plays guitar now. I think he just decided I'm gonna play guitars. It's great up and comers, man.
Pretty awesome.
But
if you think classical organ isn't fun, if you think classical organ is just church music, Cameron Carpenter, the pipe organist, is just amazing.
Yeah, there's so many great players, but I'm still, I still love Chester Thompson because I listen to some old school Tower of Power, and of course he plays with Santana currently for many years now. But there's so many sick players out there. Just love. Let me see here. Blah 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 blah. I'm just looking to see if anything. Man, you guys are all over with the question. It is tough watching both Facebook and YouTube live. So let's see here. Somebody just mentioned Dirty Loops. I think did we say Dirty Loops? Oh, yeah. Somebody said check out Al Di Meola Sequencer.
Oh yeah,
Di
Meola is awesome.
Yeah. So let's see. Oh, look at this. Someone says, I'm a big fan of that keyboardist Scott Berry. I would like to hear a solo project.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's so low, I can't hear it. No.
There you go.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you what, everybody, we're going to go ahead and bring this show to an end because thank you so much, Stephen. But before we go, I definitely want to give a shoutouts to Music Player Network. Make sure you go there, musicplayernetwork.com. Go there and of course sign into there, and so you can take part in the forums at Music Player Network.
You see it says Roland Fantom Synth Workstation right now in the MPN Gear Lab, and we also have the Keyboard Corner. I would love to get your questions on the Roland Fantom, and so I can interact with Ed and Scott and answer your questions as I write this review.
Yeah, there it is right there. It's in the lab, Roland Fantom Synth Workstation by Mr. Stephen Fortner, so you guys can all interact with him there. And it's moderated by Mr. Anderton, David Bryce, a lot of great people in here.
My recording magazine.
Yeah, so definitely go there. And then also, since it is his day in our eyes, we're going to go ahead and make sure and give a shout out. You guys check out the moogfoundation.org and give them support. This isn't the Moog portion that's selling the keyboards. This is more for the foundation about Mr. Bob Moog.
It's completely a separate entity from the Moog company.
Right.
Yes. And so history and also teaching of the young kids, teaching our next generation with Dr. Bob's Sound School and supporting Michelle Moog and the Moogseum. So you guys check out this website. This is something that's totally cool. And if you guys ever get a chance to meet Michelle, she is awesome peeps to talk to and right there. And Stephen, if someone wanted to get in touch with you, are you have any socials you want to share so they can kind of follow you or kind of jump in and just say hi or anything?
Music Player Network is a great place to hit me up. Our Facebook page. We also have a Facebook page. And you can actually just email me if you want.
Careful, Stephen.
Yeah.
Careful.
Okay, well, I'll say send me if you join Music Player Network and send me a PM.
Yeah,
I will respond to you.
Yeah. Careful, Stephen. Careful. But if you want Stephen's home number, hold on. Let me just put it in the chat. So yeah. So anyway, we're gonna let you guys go. No matter what your politics are out there, anything, just wear a mask. Everybody be safe. Be nice to each other. Don't hoard the toilet paper. Don't hoard the food. Just be cool, and we'll get all through this together. And while we're at home, let's keep on learning about synthesizers and just rocking it. All right. Well, we're going to let you go. Hold on. Let me get this right. We're going to do it right. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Stephen Fortner. And anytime.
So, thank you so much for having me.
All right, here we go. We'll see you guys next week. Oh, wait, real quick. Next week, join us because our special guest is going to be a local musician that's in this garage band. Oh, yeah, here we go. Stephen, we have a local guy we're featuring that's in.
I gotta stop this. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, look. See, it's this guy. He's in this garage band called Dream Theater. It's the local keyboardist for Dream Theater. Jordan Rudess, I think his name is. Is that his name?
Jordan Rudess. Yep.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
Yeah. This little local. Go ahead.
I want to see Scott and him together because I've often suspected that they share a beard.
Yes.
They just pass the beard back and forth.
Yep.
He just makes his white. And we just take it off and like a tie. It works like a tie. It's a clip-on.
Yeah.
Well, yours is going white. It is.
Yeah,
we're getting there.
This side, yeah.
But hey, maybe for this next episode 28 with Jordan Rudess, maybe you can shave your head, Scott.
No, but I do need a haircut, so that's not too bad. Yeah,
Water's fine over here.
All right. Well, I'm going to let all of you go. Thank you once again to Stephen Fortner. You guys take care, and we'll see you next week with Mr. Jordan Rudess. All right. Take care, guys.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.